So welcome. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino airwalk, and this is Roots Revival Interfaith, where we believe in the three truths in the universe. That is numerology, astrology, and intuitive intelligence. If you follow these three truths, it will not only help you with your healing journey, but keep you in alignment with your life contract and ultimately give you the tools to go out and assist others in doing the same. We are a federally recognized church and religion. And if you want to become a reverend with us, if you want to look at Reiki certifications or become a spiritual life coach, you can, again, go onto my website, Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com, and click on Roots Revival Interfaith and see some of the options there. Today, we are talking about selling your soul for a connection, soul ties, karmic contracts, and past lives. We're an interactive church, so I do want to encourage you to start posting your questions because I'm producing. They'll have to be posted here in the YouTube feed or on one of the Facebook feeds. Okay, if someone wants to assist me and move any questions or comments over from Instagram or TikTok, I certainly appreciate it. But that's the only way I'm going to be able to take your questions. Now, I will go back and I'll check this video once it's published, and I'll be checking for 2 weeks for any additional questions. But again, I encourage you, okay, post any questions, any comments. Also, help me out in the algorithm, and I will get to as many as I can at the end. Also, post your prayer and healing requests, and I do ask that everyone in the community pray, manifest, send the healing energy over one another as we post our prayer and healing requests. All right, so what are we talking about here? Selling your soul for a connection, soul ties, karmic contracts, and past lives. I feel like Spirit's been putting this on me to dive deeper into this topic, especially in the last few months. I do believe there's some astrology behind it. That's hitting people pretty hard in this area where we are being almost forced to let go of contracts with loved ones where they simply are not working. They will not be fulfilled. We cannot continue on in those relationship dynamics without a ton of change. And if that change and that growth is not occurring, we have a responsibility to protect ourselves. We are held accountable by the universe to leave that contract. And so a lot of people are suffering because they feel like this relationship is officially ending, or it's being taken away from them, or they've already decided to leave, but they're struggling to completely let go. Maybe the ex, for example, or a family member you're no longer in contact with. Maybe you feel like it's haunting you. It keeps showing up in your dreams. It's, constantly throughout the day showing up as synchronicities or signs and symbols referring back to this person or this relationship. And you feel as though the universe isn't letting you go. The truth of the matter is, it's your responsibility to let go. Okay, those things can happen without the universe being behind it, telling you to go back. The universe isn't necessarily telling you to revisit that relationship, to unblock that person, to break no contact. That's not what the universe is saying. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Okay, so let's start looking at one category at a time, breaking down soul ties and what they are, karmic contracts and how they affect you, and past lives and the tremendous influence they actually have that we're probably overlooking or minimizing. So we've all had something like this, right? We've all, let me know in the comments if you want to share, help your brothers and sisters out here. We've all gone through something with someone where we felt like this was a powerful connection. I'm going to use an example of romance because that's the most common one we have, especially right now with the astrology and the detoxing that's going on. So let's say, for example, you had a tremendous connection with a romantic partner. It doesn't mean you've known them for very long necessarily, or that you were together for an extended period of time. These things can be incredibly brief or not ever actually even get up off the ground. Maybe it was like a situationship or sort of a random friendship, you know, but that passion was there. That connection was there. And it doesn't work out. And in time, you realize this person keeps coming back into your life. It can happen once, twice, sometimes even 3 times per decade. So even with space and time divide, it doesn't really seem to affect this type of relationship, this bond that you have with this person. They just keep coming back around. It's like a resurrection that never fails. And so it becomes this thing where it's not really a question of whether or not you're going to come back together. It's when you're going to come back together. And that would be valid. That is going to happen. And I'm going to explain why when we talk about contracts. So, you know, you find that it's not just the actual coming together of you and this other person crossing paths. It's also them showing up in your dreams, them showing up in signs and symbols and synchronicities outside of you. This can make you think that the universe is trying to push the two of you back together. Maybe that is the case. Maybe that isn't the case. But that's what you need to figure out. Is there unfinished business, or is it done? Does it need to remain done and you're just struggling to let go? So what we have here is an opportunity for you to quickly deteriorate and lose faith in what are healthier connections, because you've become somewhat addicted to the bond you had with this other person that was effortless. You can not only lose faith in meeting someone else where you'll have that connection, you could lose a desire to meet anyone else. You could meet new people that would be great for you, but you compare them back to that other person. What did you actually have and what were you feeling with this person? You were probably feeling past life connection, which means you've had several, maybe many past lives together. And because of those experiences together, whether you were family or you were soldiers side by side, you were friends, you were business partners, maybe you were in a romantic partnership that could never get off the ground, maybe you were married, okay? Maybe it doesn't matter, but the collection of experiences that are dynamic and authentic carry with you over into this life. And so when you meet this person, it's like fireworks, right? It's like electricity. It's like two magnets coming together and you pick right back up where you left off. It's not like you're meeting at all. It's like you're reconnecting. And so the history is there, even though you can't define it and really explain how. You would feel extremely comfortable with this person, even though they haven't earned that position in your life. The speed of the relationship, the dynamic energy, and the sense of passion would be off the charts and cannot be measured by other normal relationships because you're not starting something new. The speed is there because you're picking up where you left off. So it's already in motion. What is in motion stays in motion. And then you will often start to notice that this is something they are also experiencing. And they may say things to you like, they can read your mind, or maybe they don't say it's telepathy, but they finish your sentences. You will be able to feel one another's emotions and mental state and even physical bodies. I'm not talking just sexual, that's also off the charts, but it's like, should the other one be sick, then the other one will have those physical symptoms of the flu or a cold or a headache. They reach out to you. Are you okay? What's going on with you? They may be the only ones who reach out to you. You may not have parents or family members or siblings who reach out to you. But the minute you're going through something, this person knows. This person shows up. Now that happens due to cords. When we come to Earth, we decide who we're going to get involved with. We are going to sign on to contracts. And these contracts are essentially agreements between you and this other person to finish up whatever business from your past lives you haven't finished. This could be growth. This could be lessons. This could be building something together. It could be debt owed. We don't know. It's different for every connection. But you both sign on to that contract. You agree to come to Earth, meet up as human beings in this life, and the universe connects you through something called cords. The cords are basically just keeping two people together. And if you missed last month's church service, you can go back and watch that. I talked about releasing, okay, with cords and things like this, if you're struggling to let go of someone you love. So that can also be helpful. This is almost like a part 2. But the cords are essentially a leash, okay? The universe is like, look, humans are never going to do what they need to do. They're never going to finish anything super hard. You know, they don't work together very well. Fleshy tendencies, egos and whatnot. Put them on a leash. Keep them together. And it works. It works a little too well. It's incredibly effective to have cords with someone else and be able to manipulate the other person voluntarily and involuntarily. So you can pull and tug at each other. You can manipulate the other person's energy, which can affect their emotions. It can affect their mental state. For example, if you've ever tried to leave a relationship behind, right? Family, friend, whatever, boss, lover, you've tried to leave it behind, but there are cords. That other person will continuously pop in your head and make you think you're going crazy. Like, you're obsessive. Why do I keep thinking of this person that I'm trying to pull away and create division from? Okay, well, it's more complicated than that. It's not just you thinking on them. Sometimes that is the case, but it is often them thinking on you or them deliberately pulling on that cord and getting your attention. Maybe they want you to text them. Okay. Maybe your old employer wants you to come back to the company. I don't know. Maybe your narcissistic mother you've cut off is desperately trying to get you to come back because she doesn't think she can do life without sucking up all your life energy source, you know? So people will pull and tug. They will also use the cords to show up through astral travel in your life. This is possible, certainly while you're awake, but it's even more plausible when you're asleep because you're vulnerable. You're susceptible to these types of things. Your boundaries are all down, okay? So they will show up in a million different ways. Does this mean the universe is telling you to get back together with that person or to reach out to that person? Not if the contract has gone so bad, so sour, so toxic, or so stale that there's no healthy growth. And you can sugarcoat it all you want, but if that isn't there, if you have patterns of failure and toxicity and stagnancy or abuse in this tremendous bond you have with this other person, then you have proof. And that's all the proof you need. That is a pattern. Everything in the universe is patterned. All universal truths are patterned. And you can expect more of the same, which means your responsibility, according to universal law, is to sign off on that contract, to cut those cords and to move on. And it's the acknowledgement and the acceptance of this that is the true beginning of your healing journey, your power and your strength to move forward and your ability to start clearing and detoxing their energy that's been taking up so much room in your energy field, and to start attracting higher vibrational contracts, people, opportunities, situations toward you. So you have to unblock in order to bring in the new energy. And it will be easier once you do that, but you have to be willing to do that. There's a class up on my website called Relationships, Boundaries, and Cord Cutting. And that is the descriptions in the description. You can see the link to go get that. And that is not going to work for you if you are still obsessing over this person. You're giving into the feelings of loss. You know, you are feeding a certain level of like despair or obsession over them. You have to actually want it. What does that mean? Okay. What that means is that you are being mindful of your thoughts every day. You're being mindful of what you're entertaining mentally, emotionally, energetically. And when you realize it's going in the wrong direction, you slap your hand and you say, I caught myself again. Redirecting forward thinking. It's a lot of work. Okay. So if you're constantly saying, but how is that you start putting in the work. That's but how. That's the only way how. Okay. That's the way forward. So let's say you are supposed to reconnect with this person. Let's say there is unfinished business here. Whether you have to let them go and move on, or you can and should, or may even feel somewhat forced into entertaining the relationship again, regardless of which one it is, you need to make sure you are not selling your soul for this connection. And this is what I see a lot of my clients doing, especially in recent months. What do I mean by that? Well, you have a responsibility, whether you're cutting away from this person or you're reconnecting with them, to center yourself. The universe is going to hold you accountable for prioritizing your own needs, for keeping and holding the line on the boundaries that you have set with this person, to making sure that you maintain your mental health, emotional well-being, energy level, a higher vibration. You can't just go back to this person and flush all that down the toilet, or, go no contact with them, but be obsessed with them every day and let your life remain the same and not be open to anything new. Now, what happens if you start selling your soul for this connection? You're letting them abuse you. You're letting them use you. You're letting them show up whenever they want. You just hope they'll return. And then as soon as they do, they ghost you and they keep you on a line. Narcissistic tactics, sociopathic tactics. Look them up, Google them. They're gaslighting you. And you're just like, more. I'll forgive you anything, for this connection. Well, what's going to happen to you is that your life is going to start going downhill in every way. I'm talking health, wealth, job opportunities. You may end up getting fired. You're looking at deterioration on all of your relationships. You're starting to hate and despise yourself. Your self-esteem is going so low due to the disrespect, not only that they're giving you, but the lack of respect for your own self. You can't even pull yourself out of that pit. And the universe is like, good luck with that. So you get universal karmic kickback, negative karmic kickback. There is a price to pay for selling your soul. And it's not the type of thing that you could pull yourself out of easily once you've done it. It could take years to get back to a healthy place. You're going to feel subpar for a long, long time. So don't even get into it. Don't even allow it to happen. I think it's also important to realize that some people who show up in your life and you feel all this connection to, and it ends up being toxic like this, you would say, well, then what was the point? Is the universe playing jokes on me? Is the universe just an evil place? No, not necessarily. It was probably a karmic contract. Now, a karmic contract is being used by lightworkers as twin flame readings, for example. There's been a huge market in that in recent years, massive market. But astrologers really don't see proof of that. Real numerologists, real intuitive readers don't really see proof of twin flames. Okay, it's a tool to manipulate you into thinking you're not a whole person. You should tolerate abuse. You should cling and hold on because there are cords. Cords are just cords. And cords have nothing to do with somebody being your other half. We have cords for several reasons. Soul tribe members, soulmate members, karmic contracts, and that doesn't make anyone a twin flame or a unicorn, okay, or a leprechaun, none of that is real. We have work we're supposed to do with certain people, and so we have contracts and cords. That's all. Now, we can see that with something like a karmic contract, because there is debt owed, that's the nature of that contract, that you're going to feel that same level of passion and desire and magnetism with this other person that you would feel with something like a soulmate contract. But it is toxic and it's not something you should be waiting on. So stop watching the videos, okay? Stop watching the constant tarot flips on your twin flame and let's get smarter about what's really going on here. Now, they could say things like, well, it's twin flame has these elements to it. Yeah, that's a karmic contract, which means essentially a human being by nature doesn't want to pay back debt. Okay, we just don't. We don't want to admit to when we're wrong. And if there was something done in past lives and the debt is now owed, your partner, okay, your other person you're dealing with, family, work-related, friendship, lover, if they owe you debt, it's going to be a hit to their ego, which is the ultimate disgrace to a human being. If they have to not only admit their wrongs to you, but work at it, fix it, repay what they owe, the likelihood of it happening is like, I don't know. This day and age, I'm starting to think it's slim to none. Okay. But every individual has free will. Maybe they will pay it back. Maybe they will. But the best way to handle a karmic contract is to understand that you should get in and get out as quickly as you possibly can. Because the likelihood of it going really well and ending up being some kind of great partnership is likely not even the point of the two people coming together or not. It's certainly not twin flame nonsense. Okay, even though romance is one of the most common ways I see debt that's owed getting repaid in life, which is brutal. Okay, this is where the universe is a bit of a bully, because if something needs to be accomplished, I think the universe understands that romance is going to be the way to keep two people together. So you could end up getting involved in one of these partnerships and finding that the other person is just chronically doing you dirty. It is not just ghosting or them being emotionally unavailable or them having issues from their childhood that weren't fixed in therapy. It's literally abusive, and you need to see it for what it is and understand that's often the nature of a karmic contract. So what is your part in it? Your job in a karmic contract is to get in and learn your lessons. Don't forget, that's what karma is. Karma is about growth. It's about lessons, and it's about getting the work done. Then it's about applying it. So afterward, the universe is going to test you. You're going to meet other people that are similar to that. You're going to encounter other situations that could make you go backward, maybe. Okay. And you say, no, these are my boundaries. This is what I've learned. I'm going to hold the line and I'm going to apply it. I'm going to walk it out. That's when the universe says, kudos, you have completed that karmic contract. Check. And you become a master on whatever lesson that is. Then you'll be giving your teachings out to others. Or you could stay in a loop, okay, which is what most people do for the rest of their lives. Now, it doesn't matter what the other person is doing. That's their part of a contract. If you've ever filled out a contract with anyone, a bank, an institution, your student loans, if you've ever filled out a contract with anyone, there's their part and there's your part. Mind your own business. Stay in your lane, keep your head down and keep moving forward, okay, in these karmic contracts. That is not your problem. And if they don't finish what they came here to do, they will simply reincarnate and do it over and over and over again, probably with a million other people. That should never affect you. It doesn't have to. That's your choice if you let it affect you. Right? So you're essentially signing off on that contract and you're saying, I am, cord cutting from this person. I am releasing and letting go. I'm signing on to a new contract. When I do cord cutting, I like to say to the universe, just in case there are any lessons here I've missed or I haven't completed totally, send me someone else. Send me another opportunity. Send me opportunities to do this on my own without anyone else being involved, okay, through the universe. And it's like a ceremony of releasing, okay? Again, if you guys need to do a cord cutting or signing off on a contract, you don't know how, it's called Relationships, Boundaries, and Cord Cutting. It's up on my website. I think you need to identify, though, that sometimes people are coming into your life, and this can include soulmates, and they are looking to take you down. Just because there's a contract does not mean, God is sitting up on some cloud, like cheering this thing on and trying to make it happen and working things out in your favor and working on the other person's good heart that's just buried under a bunch of rubble. They could be a real a-hole. Yeah, your soulmate could be a real D-bag, okay? Abusive, sociopathic, narcissistic. And it's increasing. Look around, look in society, look at the numbers, look at the figures, look at the research. Look at the patriarchy. Look at how toxic this is. Well, this is a period of time you chose to be born in. So you have to accept that your relationships could end up being pretty disappointing. The ones that you have contracts with that were maybe pretty incredible in past lives are not doing so hot in this life. That's okay. But you're here for a reason, and your reasons for coming to Earth at this time, in the patriarchy, during capitalism, during toxic religious orders and everything's sort of burning down in the revolution and being rebuilt. This isn't the only thing you came here for. You didn't just come here to work with a couple key people. You're doing something much larger than that. So this may be a good time to start focusing on bigger picture thinking instead of hoping, wishing, praying, and trying to force these relationship partners you have contracts with into being something more for you. That includes family, parents, siblings, parent-to-child dynamics, friends, and lovers. What is your bigger picture? Because there is a lot of toxicity out there, and having a contract or cords with someone else does not release them from their toxicity. And with a karmic contract, you should expect it. That's often your lesson, is learning how to choose you. With a karmic contract that people are trying to sell you as a twin flame journey, okay? As a karmic contract, typically your biggest lesson, I'll give you a shortcut. It's probably that you just almost sold your soul for this connection to this person. You were so desperate to have a true connection or to believe that this person is who they said they were. or to buy into the fantasy, or desperation to rewrite the ending. You don't want to let it go. And you're selling yourself off to hold on to that, okay? So the lesson is to choose you, to heal you, to center you. You will also need to do some healing and deprogramming from what society has put in your head in regards to relationships that are of value and relationships that are throwaways. Society has programmed you to think, I don't care where you are in the world, society has programmed you to think that the most important relationships are going to be, well, finding a romantic partner, getting married, and then staying together, sleeping together in the same bed every day, eating every meal across from this person, and eventually dying together. Okay, have fun. So that's the most valuable. That's the biggest thing you could do, that and having children, and then having those children just be around and grandchildren be around, okay? And if you can't do that, everything else is sort of garbage. Everything else is secondary or lesser to that. That's how you've been raised. That's how you've been programmed from the womb. And the truth of the matter is that the most nourishing, helpful, healing relationships we may have in our lives are through acquaintances and friendships and sisterhood or brotherhood, if they can pull their acts together and start being that for one another. That'd be amazing. It's not typically family dynamics, blood is thicker than water, or marital, till death do us part. These are government contracts. These are religious institutions that have implemented this, okay, for the government. These aren't real. So by universal standards, the universe is sending you people all the time that are soulmates, which could be any type of relationship, doesn't have to be romantic. Soul tribe members, these are people you have work contracts with. These are people you have cords with. Okay, it's a nice supportive energy if both people come to the table and do the work. And you meet a million other people that maybe aren't quite that significant, but they are helpful. It's supportive both ways. So if you have an attitude that you don't want to admit to in regards to your family ties and your original community, maybe even your church community, and your love partners, your romantic partners, and you think those are the most important things in life, and if you don't have those, you would rather die. You're so codependent and enmeshed and entangled. You cannot see a life for yourself outside of those relationship dynamics. You really need to check your energy, deprogram, and start reprogramming yourself to honor things like friendship, sisterhood, acquaintances, other community dynamics where you work together with others. They are not lesser, and they are not supposed to be temporary fixes until you meet the next guy. You don't use your friends as stand-ins, okay? You don't hide behind your family your whole life so that you never evolve and start traveling and making new friends and being who you authentically are. So these are the reasons we tend to not be able to leave a toxic person in our life or people, and we stay so stuck on them that we will sell our soul for that connection, is because we have no confidence that we can go out into the world and build new connections. And a connection can't be built, nor can it be destroyed. A connection is either there, it is in a contract, or it's not. So you don't need to worry about that. It'll happen when it's meant to happen, with whom it's meant to happen with. There's no more work to do. You did that work before you came to Earth when you guys filled out those contracts. Let it flow. Okay, let it come. But you have to start expanding out. We are also needing to talk a little bit about neglect of childhood wounds. Some of my clients that I see are the most stuck, and it's really shocking. They cannot leave an abusive situation. It's often because they haven't been to therapy, or they didn't do enough therapy, or they haven't dealt with betrayal trauma, or maybe they need an actual trauma therapist to deal with abuse in their childhood, neglect, anything that fosters this fear of abandonment, okay? Entanglement, codependency, all the things, all the psychological keywords that lead to people getting stuck and hung up on relationships that are toxic. If you are listening to this and you're like, oh, I have that with somebody, I can't let them go, I can't let them go, and this sounds like your childhood, start there. Okay, get that in order. Once you're educated, you'll have the power to use the tools that you're going to gain in therapy, in healing. I think another way to move forward from things like this is understanding that most people in this life just aren't ready. It's another disappointing factor in choosing to be born right now. I laugh because if I don't laugh, I'll cry. These are bad times. Okay. It's like a joke. I mean, really, like, this is like a circus. This is literally my show. I have Late Night Circus, right? It's like, this is a circus. We're living in this dark carnival right now. Now, a lot of us are reborn from times of Christ. A lot of us are reborn from whether the French Revolution, right, 250 years ago. This is the astrology that's playing out right now. French Revolution, American Revolution. We've chosen to be reborn during this time. A lot of us in our past lives, maybe we did come from some matriarchal order, and we're here to put the matriarchy back in place, whatever it is. You came here for a reason right now. And it is ridiculous. You're not imagining it. It, I think, is incomparable, okay, to other times in history. While I will also say that a lot of things were already here and problematic and are just being exposed. So we don't want to give history too much credit, for sure not. But this is particularly bad. It's true. We need to let that go too. It may not happen in this life, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're straight, due to the patriarchy. It may not happen. Women, for example, and this is just an example, women, for example, are born in a time when men have been so raised up in the patriarchy and there's so much toxic masculinity, women are not even seen as human beings. So the universe isn't expecting you to actually work that out with them. They have to do the changing. They have to do the growing. They have to show up ready in order for this connection to actually happen. Your job, if you are meeting someone who doesn't see you as a person, sees you as a punching bag, sees you as something to be used up or to be of service to them, that they're entitled to your energy. They are in a position of privilege in that way. They think you owe it to them. Your job is to walk away and avoid karmic kickback from the universe. And that may happen over and over and over again. That may happen your entire life. We weren't born in good times, which means, for example, women have an extremely small dating pool of options. If they want something authentic, romantically. So there is, in this revolution, this evolution of women recognizing their independence and how to center themselves and get out of the cult-like mentality. Men coming to recognition that the patriarchy is killing them and isolating them. And we'll see what both ends of this contract, can do. But you have to be realistic that people are born during this time with a lot of problems that can interfere. Typically, it's like the norm that a contract may not be fulfilled. So prepare for that, you know, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's really all you can do. We see this again with the increase in mental health crises and narcissistic abuse. Not to say everyone's a narcissist, but narcissistic tendencies being handed down from generation to generation. Gay, straight, trans, what other, it doesn't matter. That's happening for everyone, especially romantically. Okay, so people may not be ready. Also, we're born in such a time where a handshake doesn't really mean anything anymore. There's a lot of hustling going on out there. There's a lot of scamming. There are a lot of cons. So, you know, maybe if you had work to do with someone else, you could trust that they would be moral, they would be ethical, they would want to pay back debt owed to you, let's say, if it's a karmic contract. If it's a soulmate contract, romantic, maybe they will be honest and not cheat behind your back. You know, or they do want to bring something to the table and financially like contribute to your well-being, not just take from you. Whatever it is from the past, those days are gone. Dead, done, over with. You're dealing with a whole new breed of people. And it's not easy. You've got to have the hustler's mentality. People are either getting hustled or they're hustling. And you have to enter into these contracts understanding that is the climate. Okay, that is the atmosphere. That is what's most likely to happen. Do we hope for better? Sure we do. Are we going to fulfill our part of the contract? Absolutely. Are we going to sell our soul for this connection? No. Nope. Not in a million years. All right. So I want to get into your questions, your comments, and then I'm going to give a closing message here on what else you could really do about this. If you are struggling, if everyone could, please give this video a thumbs up. Donations are appreciated, but of course not required. And if you could drop a comment of any kind, greatly appreciated. If you could also subscribe, that would be fantastic. If you guys are interested in hearing more, you can also go to YouTube at Ask Ivy and go into Roots Revival and hear all of the old church services or listen wherever you download your podcasts. All right, I'm going to get into some questions and comments. I also want you guys to post your prayer and healing requests if you have not already done so. And for those of you tuning in later, once this is published, I do go over prayer and healing requests for about 2 weeks. I'll go back and check on this video. Okay. So I see some prayers here. Lucy says, real progress is when you are not even attracted to those red flags anymore. That is so important, because what she's really talking about here is understanding what something is, being educated. You know, you get it. You're on this like fundamental, it's sort of level. You are forever changed because you have witnessed something. You've been drawn to the toxicity. You have recognized it for what it is. It has shattered. You've pulled away. You stay in your center. You then, when it shows up again, don't even want it. You're like, I know what that is. You know, it's like, not today, Satan. I am not entertaining this at all. And you can trust that it will always come up again. Right? Whether it be a test from the universe to see if you're going to walk out your truth and hold the line on your boundaries, or it's just because it's everywhere and you see it now clearly. It's almost like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Thank you, Lucy. That is the epitome of real progress. Yes. It's a turnoff. You're not even attracted to it. You know, and I've noticed that with partners in my own life. Like once I figure it out that they're not going to do what they're supposed to do, we have this amazing bond. We have this amazing astrology. We have this potential contract to build. And I just look at them one day and I realize they're a dud. They're never going to do it. They're lazy or whatever it is, whatever the reason. I just see them as a slob. I just am turned off. I don't even want to hear the sound of their voice anymore. I am turned off in every way, shape, and form, you know? And it's an amazing thing when you can reach that point because, well, maybe it's sad. It's more sad leading up to it. Once you hit that mark, there is no going back. I don't know how you guys are. Let me know in the comments. But once I'm off, I'm off. I cannot get back on. And it's something that you recognize like an ick factor in anything else that approaches you in the future. You identify it and categorize it. Again, patterns are everywhere. It's sort of like, you know, I can feel the energy coming off this thing, this opportunity, this other person, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. It's just gross. That's amazing. Love it. Love it. Thank you, Lucy. Let's see. We have one here from Tristan. If I can pull it up. Let's see if my computer is going to let me do what I need to do. Tristan says, under what circumstances would marriage actually be a positive thing? I don't think it is. By universal standards, it's just not a real thing. So we have to look at marriage as being what it is. It's a government contract. It supports the government. It supports the capitalistic patriarchal machine. It is part of the system, and that's what it benefits. So if you get involved in a government contract, the universe, you may notice immediately, a lot of my clients actually say like everything was fine, then we got married and everything deteriorated. And a lot of people, beyond just my clients, a lot of people say that everything was fine until we got married. Well, you kind of kicked the universe in its face. You know, you said, I don't honor universal law. I'm going to go ahead and get in this government contract. And, you know, that happens with everything that you're not supposed to be doing. It's not just getting involved with the government in a way that you shouldn't, or entrapping yourself and disregarding the truth. It's could happen in a million different ways, and it does all day, every day. That's what negative karmic kickback is. I chose wrong, therefore I have consequences. And the relationship will have consequences. Typically, people get married and the relationship implodes within a very short period of time. And that's a fact, you know, looking at divorce rates and whatnot. So what circumstances would a marriage be positive? Tristan wants to know. I guess I would say that if you are honest with the other person, if you say, okay, I will get married, but these are the reasons I'm doing it. You're on it. You understand the reasons they're doing it. And if you know for a fact, you believe that at any point another soulmate will be crossing your path, because they will. You don't get married and then your future love partners don't cross your path. It doesn't work that way. So maybe you say to your partner, we want an open marriage, or I may want to go explore with someone else. If my next soulmate crosses my path, I may struggle with that. Maybe you agree, like, I won't cheat, but I may struggle with this because I identify it. I'm not blind. You know, you can agree to be together for a certain time period. Now, this is becoming, I'm waiting. I think it's going to happen in Maine first, maybe. But the future wave of marriage is 3, 7, and like 11 or 12 year contracts. They're not going to be till death do us part contracts. They're going to be renewable. So maybe you say I'm more comfortable getting involved with something that's renewable. Is it romantic? I don't know. But is a marital government contract romantic in the first place? No, it isn't. So, you know, what exactly do you want it to be? Why do you want it? And I think that if both people can come to the table and be super clear on that, it could maybe offer some level of support. I see this with some of my lesbian friends, for example. But people also, women in general, are getting married because we've known for a couple of years the government, especially here in the States, is going to start taking away all of your financial stability through beatings in the tax system if you're not married to a man. So just friends are, it's like the Golden Girls, like just friends are getting married. You don't have to be a lesbian couple, but to protect yourself financially. So I think that if you understand tax statuses and you understand, you know, being exempt in certain areas and being able to protect yourself in that way, maybe then It could be smart to partner up with your friends, you know, or your lovers. Yeah, just being realistic. A lot of people are probably going to start doing it to get a second citizenship. I'll admit, I'm on the fence, okay? So maybe you get married so you can move to a better country or have a better life. I don't know. But romantically, no, I don't really see any benefits. I just don't have any proof of it, you know, working out that way. And a lot of that is because the universe doesn't really support it by universal law. It's not a thing. Contracts are, but government intervention is not. I don't see any other questions here. If anyone else had anything, go ahead and add it in now, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I would say that in conclusion here, when you are tempted to sell your soul for a connection with someone else, what I would advise you to do is to be non-judgmental, to roll the good in with the bad, and to allow yourself to embrace and honor the beautiful things that relationship brought into your life. To make a list even. These are the pros. This is what I learned about myself, about others, about what I want in relationship dynamics. This is how it made me feel good. This is how it healed me. This is how it kept me excited, right? This helped me with deeper levels of intimacy, because all that stuff will probably be there in one way, shape, or form. This is what it's shown me. And then you need to look at the cons. This is what didn't work. This is the reality. These are the red flags I turned pink. This is how it hurt me. Having a list of that toxicity, even keeping it in your pocket and pulling it out when you need to, can be a real wake-up call, snapping you back into reality, reminding you of why you need to move on, okay? But you are also honoring what you learned from that. You're alchemizing it. You're transmuting it. You're saying, I've taken this neglect or this ghosting or this abuse, this pain, and I'm going to use it for power. Here's what I learned from it. So even that could technically get shifted into your pro list. And you're allowing yourself to say, that level of connection I had with that person, I will never settle for anything less than that. It's got to be that or greater. And I trust it's around the bend. It's coming in again. And you should, because we typically get 5 to 6 different soulmate options. We get more karmic partners. Not recommending you stay in those, but will they be dynamic, compassionate, and amazing? Yup, even those will be. Okay, and there's a lot to toy around with. So knowing that in leaving it, by changing the way you think about it, how often you're thinking about it, don't let it consume you anymore. Be mindful and get in control of your mind. And that'll help with your emotions, that you are making room for the new to come in, and celebrate that forward thinking. Don't look back, look ahead. All right. I hope this was helpful, you guys. Let me know in the comments. And if there is any future sermon topics you would like me to touch on. And I will see you guys back here in a couple weeks for another Roots Revival service. In the meantime, you can book a reading, a party, or a psychic fair with me anytime. Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. And stay tuned for my other shows. I typically go live every Wednesday. Thanks, everyone.